Okay, in this lesson, I want to start talking about fire. Okay, we're done talking about our smoke simulation. So I want to go ahead and create a fire simulation. And I deleted all my smoke simulation stuff, so I'm just back to my regular sphere here. Okay, and inside my sphere, I deleted those nodes as well. So we're just starting fresh here with our sphere. We're still going to use this as our emitter object. So what I want to do, I want to go ahead and select this. And I want to come up to the flames effect here. Okay, now explosion, fireball, smokeless flame, pyro cluster, these will all use fire as well. But I want to go ahead and just look at the flames because these same parameters will apply throughout all these other tools here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we'll select this. We'll go ahead and create our flames. And again, we'll come back out and let's go ahead and dive into our sphere object to see what was created. So the same type of nodes were created just like our smoke simulation. So we have our pyro source, our noise, our rasterized node. But if we come into our pyro source here, instead of source smoke, we have our source fuel here. Okay? So if we come down here, you can see these two different attributes that were created. Instead of density, we're now creating fuel and temperature. Okay, so temperature we saw before, temperature is used to go ahead and create our heat. Okay, and fuel is exactly what it is. It's fuel. It's used to ignite the fire. When temperature and fuel meet, that's when we get our combustion, and that's where we get our fire. Okay, so we have our fuel created here, and we have our temperature created here. Okay, all right, so if we come in, and if we have any smoke associated, it'll also create a density field on top of it. All right, so same thing here. If we come down to add noise, we're adding noise on top of our fuel and our temperature attributes here, and then we're just rasterizing these into volumes instead of point attributes. So again, we have our fuel and our temperature voxel data down here. Okay, so same thing. If we want to go ahead and mess with the noise, we can do it here. Control our fuel and temperature scale. We can do that here as well. Okay. So this goes out, we have an out fuel, and then it comes inside of our auto dop. And our auto dop, same way. So we have our volume source. The only difference is now we're looking at our out fuel, and then we're going ahead and converting our fuel volume to a field here that we can use on our auto dop, same with temperature and velocity. Okay, same thing as before. Pyro, same thing. Again, we're just visualizing, setting our division here. Okay, and resize container, this works as well. Same way. Okay, so if I go ahead and play this to see what we get, you can see that we get a combustion and then we get our flames here shooting up pretty quickly. Okay. So again, that all has to do with inside of our Pyro solver. Okay, so our Pyro solver, if we come in here, again, we have all of our same attributes here. Buoyancy, this is driving our flame upwards, so we could bring this down if we wanted to say maybe 1.5. That'll kind of slow down and won't make our flames go as high. Okay, so you can see we get a little more licks, fire licks here at the top because we're not racing this pretty quickly. Okay, so depending on how fast you want this to go up. Okay, now if we go into the combustion tab, this is now enabled. Okay, and this is actually what controls our combustion, our flames. All right, so just a few here that I wanna look at, a few of the main ones. The first one, if we come down to flames, we have this flame height. So this is how high our flames are actually going to be. So right now it's 3.5. We put this down to say 0.5 and then go ahead and hit play. You can see that now our flames are a lot shorter. They don't go all the way up here, and we're only reaching this area here. Okay, so a little work of the buoyancy and the flame height will give you the height of the flames and how far up you want these to reach. Okay. If we go up to gas release, this is kind of how much they call it gas is injected into our simulation. So this causes a big kind of explosion, a bigger combustion. Okay, so the more gas released, the bigger that's going to be. So if I put this up to say 30, go ahead and hit play, you can see we get a bigger sort of combustion there. Okay, we get a bigger fire, we get a bigger combustion. If we bring this down to say 2, you can see that we get a pretty small contained fire because we're not releasing a lot of gas into the simulation here. Okay, let's bring this back up to say 7. The other one, temperature output here. So this is the amount to increase the temperature field by for every unit of fuel consumed. Okay, so again, if you want to increase this more, say to 0.8 or even to say 2, that'll go ahead and increase that temperature, and it'll start getting hotter over time here. You can see that. Okay. The other ones we'll take a look at later on, but those are the main ones that to look at. You can see that we have some smoke getting emitted off of that. That has to do with the smoke, so we're emitting smoke here, how much smoke, and the field that we're emitting this smoke off of. Okay, so we're emitting it off of our heat field here, and then we have different fields here that we can control separately if we need to. Okay, so again, the Pyro, if we wanted this to be a better resolution, we could bring this down to say 0.3, and again, it'll be a better resolution fire, but the simulation is going to be slower. Okay, so you can see we get some more detailed kind of these fire licks, and it's just a better looking simulation. Okay. Again, with visualization, we can turn off multi-field, and if we just want to go ahead and view heat, we can see where all the heat is being generated. If we want to view velocity, we can see this velocity and see how the velocity is working in our field. So the red is just a higher velocity, and then it kind of fades out towards the edges here. Okay. Same thing, we have fuel, so we could see our fuel source, and our fuel source is just right here. Okay, and then we also have our temperature, and again, we saw this before. We can take a look and see our temperature and see how that's being affected. Okay, let me bring this up, 0.5. So another thing inside the Pyro solver, if we come, that's the combustion. If we come to shape, you can see that turbulence is turned off here. You have the option again to turn all these on and play with them, but we do have shredding turned on. Okay, and shredding is important to fire because this is what creates those licks. It gives us this push and pull motion that's creating these fire licks. Okay, and shredding has its own tab that you can go ahead and play with to get more of a fine control down here. But again, you know, increasing this to 0.8, we can see what this does, but you can see that kind of blows out. We get kind of more noise here, so maybe that's something we don't want. So that 0.15 maybe looks a little better here. Okay, but that's providing these kind of these squish and stretch motions of our fire, which gives us these nice licks. Okay, I can always come back and bring down this buoyancy. So if I wanted to bring this to say 0.5, so this won't raise as high. Okay, and same thing over here. If we go into our shape, Dissipation, that will just have to do with the smoke here. Okay, disturbance, again, if you want to add some more disturbance inside of here, 0.6. Okay, again, that'll give you some more noise, finer noise inside of your fire here. Okay, so again, just depending on what that effect is you want. Okay. Back in the Pyro 2 on the multi-solver, if you come down, we have control of density, and this is all for visualization purposes, but just to get an idea of how you want this fire to look. So when it comes to rendering, you can set that up. But smoke, we have our density here. That's control how dense the smoke is. Emission, this has to do with the fire. So if I start, let's play this a little bit. And if I have something like this, you can see if I bring down this emission, it'll go ahead and bring down how intense that emission is. And that's based off of our temperature field here. Okay, so you can control that there. Again, this is all visualization purposes. And then our color itself is based on our heat field down here. Okay. So you can base it on a color or on a range here based on the heat range, and then down here you can control the actual color of this fire based on certain points of that heat. Okay, so again, these are all playing around with. If you scour the internet, you'll usually find some numbers here that mostly are related to what fire actually looks like, the color itself. So again, it's either playing around with it or trying to find those numbers to get exactly what we want. Okay, so that's basically fire itself. Again, it's just dealing with this combustion and some of these parameters here, the shape, the simulation. It's a trial and error thing. You're just playing around with these and really trying to achieve the look that you're after. Okay, that's it for this one. And the next one, I want to take a look at the shader, so how we can actually start rendering this fire and the different parameters to take a look at when we're dealing with that. All right, we will see you in the next one.